Try being T. It's gonna be a new day. It's the beginning of a new wave. You could never be our king. YAH'S rep Yah with me. It's the dawn of 400 years. 400 years since we shed our first tears. 400 years since my ancestors slain. 400 years since we all knew his name. 400 in this land, Babylon, the bases of many kings. Yah's name is gone. We are the mighty YAH'S. Lions of Yah, praise Yah with me. The righteous, the holy, the creator, the only, the righteous, the holy, the creator, the only. He is our king, our savior, and our judge. YAH'S Yahweh is righteous. He is our king, our savior, and our judge. YAH'S Yahweh is righteous. It's gonna be a new day. It's gonna be a new way. You must think that you're our king. YAH'S, fourth tribe ENT. It's gonna be a new day. It's the beginning of a new wave. You could never be our king. YAH'S, rep Yah with me. It's the dawn of 400 years. 400 years since you stole our names. 400 years since Willie Lynch made the slave. 400 years and we still remain. 400 years of living with Cain. 400 years and we still a slave. Slaving on the job, slaving on the block, slaving in the jail and in our hearts. We are the mighty YAH'S. Lions of Yah, praise Yah with me. The righteous, the holy, the creator, the only, the righteous, the holy, the creator, the only. He is our king, our savior, and our judge. YAH'S, Yahweh is righteous. It's gonna be a new day. It's gonna be a new way. You must think that you're our king. YAH'S, fourth tribe ENT. It's gonna be a new day. It's the beginning of a new way. You could never be our king. YAH'S, rep Yah with me. You could never be my king.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is, by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous, Yah is holy, and let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the creator has allowed us to come before you another day, another week, even another month, bringing to you his great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of Yah. My name is Mowreh IshYAH YIsraEL of the house of Israel, bringing to you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth, for Yah ordained me to tell you the truth, so this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah? Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Yah is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YIsraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king, he's our judge, he's our lawgiver, and Yah is our only savior, and not just of Israel. Yah is the savior of the world. And I once again praise the mighty Yah for allowing us to bring to you his great, holy, and exalted words. Today, and this week, we will just deal with some very basic fundamental truths that oftentimes we forget as a people and even as individuals. So we will deal with various different subject matters. And one of the subject matters that we will be dealing with today is prosperity. You hear about this prosperity that people have, or the lack of prosperity that people have. This prosperity in one breath is seen as a blessing, and in another, the lack thereof is seen as a curse. But what really is prosperity? And how can we recognize prosperity? And who is the one that bring us prosperity? Is it us, ourselves? Or do this come from somewhere else? Well, let us search the scriptures. Many times I found in my years as an Israelite, as a counselor, and as a teacher, that as soon as one began to experience adversity, this adversity oftentimes does not feel or seem like prosperity at all. Soon as there is an obstacle, some type of barrier that must be hurdled or climbed, or even a barrier that you must go around, then things don't seem prosperous. But I'm going to just show you the truth, because a lot of people today, whether they in a marriage, whether they on a job, whether they having issues in their family, or issues with one another, at the end of the day, you want to know whether you are prosperous or not. And there's only one way that you can tell. Well, first, let me show you this in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. In the book of Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, and I'm going to read the 14th verse for you. And this is what it says in Ecclesiastes 7 and 14. It says, in the day of prosperity, be joyful. But in the day of adversity, consider. Because there's a difference between adversity and prosperity. They are opposite of one another. Elohim also has set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. And so oftentimes when Yah set one over the other, a lot of times this is where people become very confused on whether they're prosperous or they're dealing with adversity. And so you kind of get confused on the way of Yahweh. But let us show you the difference between the two and how you should be judging whether you're prosperous or not. And whose fault is it? Is it your fault? Is it his fault or her fault? Or is it something other than you? Let's see. Show you one example in the book of Genesis, the 24th chapter, if we turn there. In the book of Genesis 24, and we're going to start reading at the 35th verse.
And Yahweh hath blessed my master greatly, and he is become great, and he hath given him flocks and herds, and silver and gold, and menservants and maidservants, and camels and asses. And Sarah my master's wife bore a son to my master when she was old, and unto him he hath given all that he hath. And my master made me swear, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife to my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. But thou shalt go unto my father's house and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son. And I said unto my master, Peradventure, the woman will not follow me. And he said unto me, Yahweh, before whom I walk, will send his angel with thee, and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife for my son, of my kindred, and of my father's house. Then shalt thou be clear from this my oath, when thou comest to my kindred. And if they give not thee one, thou shalt be clear from this my oath.
Yeah, you'll be clear from my oath. And Abraham let his servant know that Yahweh before whom he walked, in which all of us supposed to walk before. In everything that we do, we supposed to be walking before Yahweh. And this walk that we do is either going to be good or it's going to be bad. But Abraham is letting his servant know Yahweh before whom I walk will send his angel with you and prosper your way. Because a lot of times in our inability to judge whether our way is prosperous or not, we look at the person beside us or in front of us or behind us or with us. And we look at them to determine whether our way is prosperous or not. And oftentimes, because we see things ain't working out, things don't look good, things don't feel good, of course, we take this as adversity, and it means to us our way is not prosperous. Not knowing whether Yahweh has sent the angel with us or not. We didn't even inquire whether Yahweh is making our way prosperous or not by sending an angel with us in our walk. In this particular case, this walk was finding a wife for Abraham's son, Isaac. And you want to know whether your way has been prosperous. You may have taken on a wife, or you may be looking for a wife. You may have taken on a husband, or you may be looking for a husband. But at the end of the way, at the end of the day, it's not about you. Abraham didn't know what woman Yahweh had prepared for his son. Abraham's servant didn't know the woman that Yahweh had prepared. But Abraham had the faith that one must have if you're walking with Yahweh, whether Yah will make your way prosperous or not. And in this thing, Abraham knew before it went down, and then once it was executed, it was confirmed that his way was prosperous. And this is likewise with all our fathers and those that will walk before Yahweh. But yet, today, Israel look at one another to determine whether our way is prosperous or not. If things don't go good, it must be your fault. It must be his fault. But why isn't our mind on Yahweh before whom we walk, or supposed to? Watch what it says in the book of Genesis 31. In the book of Genesis 31, the very first verse.
And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying,
This is Jacob.
Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And Yahweh said unto Yaakov, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Yaakov sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the Elohim of my father hath been with me.
Yeah, he's been with me. I know he's with me. And how did Jacob know that Yahweh, the Elohim of our fathers, was with him? How did he know this?
And ye know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But Elohim suffered him not to hurt me.
In other words, Jacob was not determining whether Yahweh was with him or not by virtue of the fact that Laban changed his wages 10 times. it would seem like Yahweh is not with him. Because this man changed my wages 10 times. He was not judging the fact that Yahweh was with him by virtue of the fact that he was being deceived by Laban, although he was. And he also knew that if it wasn't for the Most High, if Yahweh had allowed it, if Yahweh was not with him, he would have put his hands and hurted Jacob. But Jacob knew that Yahweh was with him. This is why we must understand prosperity and how Yahweh will prosper one, even through the face of all the adversity that you might see and feel. And watch what it says.
If he had said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bore speckled. And if he had said thus, the ring streaked shall be thy hire, then all the cattle ring streaked. Thus Elohim hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass, at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes, and I saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-streaked, speckled and grizzled. And the angel of Elohim spoke unto me in a dream, saying, Yaakov. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-streaked, speckled and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee.
Yeah, see, the angel letting him know, I seen this man deceive you. I seen this man change your wages 10 times. I seen this man even wanted to do you hurt. But I'm with you. Elohim is with you. And oftentimes people don't know that Yahweh is with them or not, so they resort to taking matters into their own hand. And that's a sure sign that Yahweh is not with you. And watch what it says.
I am the Elohim of Bethel, where thou anointed the pillar, and where thou vowedest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred.
So he told him, look here, go ahead and leave. Get out of there. And this is exactly what Jacob did. He did exactly what the angel told him to do. And he knew Yahweh was with him, even though of the adversity that was rampant in all the years that he worked with his father-in-law, Laban. And why don't we know? Yahweh still made his way prosperous in spite of what someone else was doing and what Laban's sons were saying. Also, in the book of Genesis 39, we're talking about prosperity, because the way we see prosperity is not the way prosperity actually works. We use one example in the scriptures where it was clearly talking about the prosperity in finding a wife. And then we looked at another example where this prosperity had to deal with a man's work and what he got paid and how he was deceived. An average person wouldn't see that situation as prosperous at all. But yet, Jacob was very prosperous. And Jacob knew it. And how did he know it? But let us continue reading. And let me show you this real good. I just want to show you this. And we're going to go right back to the 39th chapter, but I want you to turn to Genesis, the 47th chapter. Show you how Jacob seen things. In the book of Genesis 47, the 5th verse.
And Pharaoh spoke unto Joseph, saying, Thy father and thy brethren are come unto thee. The land of Egypt is before thee. In the best of the land make thy father and thy brethren to dwell. In the land of Goshen let them dwell. And if thou knowest any men of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. And Joseph brought in Yaakov his father, and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, How old are thee?
How old are you? And you see, even though Pharaoh was Pharaoh of Egypt, but Jacob blessed him. And he asked him, How old are you?
And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years.
He was at this time, he was 130 years old.
Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage.
In other words, my fathers lived longer than me, and they were even more special than me. I can't even compare the blessings that they received in their pilgrimage, but few and evil have the days of the years of my life been. And I can surely look on my life and I can surely say Yahweh has been with me, because few and evil had my life has been. The years of my life, in other words, he had way more good times, way more blessings than he had in curse. That's how he seen life. And he knew that the Most High was with him. But this is not our story. And oftentimes when I'm counseling and talking to people, no, they emphasize the bad and not the good, the curse and not the blessings, the adversity, but not the prosperity. Watch what it says in the book of Genesis 39. And it's understandable why. Because oftentimes they don't see the prosperity. But when Yahweh is with you, you see it all the time. Watch what it says in Genesis 39:1.
And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites.
Bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites.
Which had brought him down thither.
Yeah, in other words, he was sold into slavery.
And Yahweh was with Joseph.
But even though he was sold into slavery and brought down by some Ishmaelites who bought him, the scripture says, but Yahweh was with Joseph. And watch what it says.
And he was a prosperous man.
And not only he was with him, after he was sold into slavery, after he was snatched from his brothers, he was a prosperous man.
And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian.
And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And watch what happens.
And his master saw Yahweh was with him, and that Yahweh made all that he did to prosper in his hand.
In other words, not only did he know that Yahweh was with him and that he was prosperous, even his master seen, man, Yahweh is with you. Because he began to see that whatever he did, he was prosperous in his house. Continue reading.
And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house. And all that he had, he put into his hand. And it came to pass, from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake.
He blessed the Egyptian house for Joseph's sake.
And the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he had in the house and in the field.
Even though you might not be blessed, you might have somebody in your house that is blessed. And as a result of their blessing and Yahweh making their way prosperous, the whole house become blessed just because of that individual's sake. And oftentimes, once again, you rarely hear how blessed and how prosperous Yahweh will make one. But you will hear about the great adversity. Here it is. Yourself is sold into slavery. But Yahweh was with him and made his way prosperous. But watch this. And we're going to jump right down to the 11th verse.
And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business. And there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me.
This is Pharaoh's wife.
And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spoke unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I had lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled, and I got him out.
In other words, she lied against him. She lied against this man of Elohim. She lied against this prosperous man, this blessed man, this man where the scripture says Yahweh was with him.
And she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she spoke unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fell and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spoke unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant unto me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison.
In other words, here go this prosperous man, this blessed man, a man that Yahweh is with, sold into slavery. But now this man is thrown into prison. And after this man is thrown into prison, watch what happened.
But Yahweh was with Joseph.
It still says, but Yahweh was with yourself. In other words, we had no clue and idea what prosperity is. We have no clue what it means for Yahweh to be with us. That's because we are not looking to Yahweh. Everything that happened to us, it's got to be somebody's fault. It's got to be our fault. And it has nothing to do with nothing else. Somebody has to be blamed. But nobody is looking at their walk with Yahweh, whom they supposed to be walking before. But Yahweh was with yourself.
And showed him mercy.
Showed him mercy.
And gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
And still Yahweh was with him. Gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it.
In other words, he became master of the prison. Now, it probably didn't feel good being in prison. Didn't look good being in prison. But yet, Yahweh was still with him. Don't think because you have some adversity in your life, somehow Yahweh is not with you. And so now, since you got this adversity, now I have to resort to my own understanding. I got to figure a way out of this. I have to make my own decisions. And watch what it says.
The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand.
He looked not to anything that was under his hand.
Because Yahweh was with him.
Because Yahweh was with him, talking about yourself.
And that which he did.
And that which he did.
Yahweh made to prosper.
And Yahweh made it to prosper. Everything he would do, he was prosperous. Even though he was in jail, even though he was sold into slavery, Yahweh still was with him. And we're talking about prosperity and how we are to see our own way. The first thing that one should look to is, how is your walk with Yahweh? Don't worry about the next person walk and the next person walk and so walk. What about your walk with Yahweh? And is Yahweh with you to prosper your way? And if you're blessed somehow, some way, in some manner where you know you're not walking with Yah, maybe it's because of someone in your midst that for their sake, Yahweh has prospered your way. In the book of Deuteronomy, the 29th chapter, let us turn there. We're talking about prosperity and how we ought to see it and judge it. And I'm here to tell you that our people don't see prosperity as Yahweh see it. In the book of Deuteronomy 29, starting at the very first verse.
These are the words of the covenant which Yahweh commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moses called unto all Israel, and said unto them, Ye have seen all that Yahweh did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh, and unto all his servants, and unto all his land. The great temptations which thine eyes have seen, the signs, and those great miracles. Yet Yahweh hath not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear, unto this day. And I have fed, and I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not waxen old upon you, and your shoe is not waxen old upon your foot. You have not eaten bread, neither have you drunk wine or strong drink, that ye might know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. And when you came unto this place, Sihon king of Heshbon, and Og king of Bashan, came out against us unto battle, and we smote them, and we took their land, and gave it for inheritance unto the Reubenites, and unto the Gadites, and to the half tribe of Manasseh. Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do.
See, the Almighty just want us, he showed us his great wonders and temptations. He showed us his great miracles and signs. And even though he led us 40 years, our ancestors, in the wilderness, 40 years. And people ask today, are we going to have to be in the wilderness that long? Whether we are or not. The question is not whether we're going to be in the wilderness that long or not. The question should be, will Yahweh be with us? And will Yahweh make our way prosperous no matter where we are? Whether we in prison, whether we working for a tyrant like Laban, who will deceive you and change your wages 10 times, or whether you sold in slavery, whether you accused of things you didn't do, didn't say, whether someone being wicked and mean and churlish towards you, like a Nabal. The question is not whether you are faced with all this adversity. The question is Yahweh with you? And did he make your way prosperous? And our people, 40 years in the wilderness, he fed them manna. 40 years in the wilderness, their clothes did not wax old. 40 years in the wilderness, their shoe never waxed old on their feet. And all they was doing was walking. "40 years in a circle. And their way was prosperous for the righteous. But for the wicked, all they did was complain, and they could not see prosperity. And since they couldn't see prosperity, Yahweh would give them up to their own mind. Since you don't see no good, bad will happen. bad will be your demise. Bad will be your blessing, because you don't see good anyway. You don't see how Yahweh has made your way prosperous anyway. In the book of Joshua, the first chapter, very first verse.
Now after the death of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, it came to pass that Yahweh spoke unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee, and I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee.
You notice, look what the Creator told Joshua. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. And Yahweh told him, nobody will be able to stand before you all the days of your life, and I will not fail you, nor will I forsake you. And this is the type of confidence that we got to have in Yahweh. And this is the type of confidence we don't have in Yahweh, because we will take matters into our own hand, and then once we see destruction, then we're ready to blame. We're ready to complain. But it was our fault anyway. And watch what he says, 6th verse.
Be strong and of a good courage.
And you got to be strong and of good courage. You don't think Joshua went through things? You don't think Joshua was challenged and tested and proved? You don't think Joshua's situation in leading the people as Moses did will be a lot of obstacles, a lot of hurdles, a lot of things that he had to overcome? Sure, this will be very challenging. Sure, it will be adversity involved. But be strong and of good courage.
For unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land, which I swore unto their fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous.
Only be you strong and very courageous,
that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest.
Yeah, in other words, do as Moses did, do as Moses commanded, and don't turn from the left hand or the right hand, that you may prosper, because that's going to be your prosperity. Your prosperity is not how you shake the dice. Your prosperity is not how you pick the numbers. Your prosperity is not how you think and don't think. Your prosperity is your strength and your courage and your ability to walk with Yahweh. And every day you got to examine how you will walk with him. Because no matter what situation you find yourself in, whether it's like the servant who had to choose a wife for his master Isaac, and he didn't know what the outcome would be, or Jacob, who was deceived and wages changed 10 different times with the understanding that this man would even hurt him if it wasn't from the Most High. Or whether it's Joseph, who was sold into Egypt, slavery, accused of adultery, and put in prison. But in every situation, they all knew that Yahweh was with them. So it don't matter how long you walked in the wilderness and how long you will walk in the wilderness to come. Is Yahweh with you? That's the question. And are you with him? And here it is. Joshua, on a very deep mission in his life, the most challenging mission of his life. And he was told to be strong and of good courage. Then he was told, only be you strong and very courageous. And watch the 8th verse.
This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success.
You're going to have some good success if you meditate in this book of the law day and night. And this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. And you shall observe to do according to all that is written therein. And you're going to see prosperity. And you're going to have good success. And many people don't meditate day and night. The book of the law do depart out of their mouth because they talking what they feel and what they think and what they want to take place rather than thus says Yahweh. And then they wonder if their way is prosperous or not. Then they wondering and confused about whether they having good success. And it's only because, watch the 9th verse.
Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage.
In other words, you don't have no good success. You're not prosperous because you're not even confident and strong and of good courage and courageous about the things that you are doing. And you got to be strong in what you are doing. Yes, people will call you arrogant and prideful and a lot of other names, because surely I've been called all these things. But what people don't know and what they can't see, only Yahweh can see. Only his heavenly host can see, his angels, is how one will meditate day and night in his word. and how the book of the law will not depart out of their mouth. In other words, every time somebody talking to them, every time they getting counsel, every time they saying something, it's out of the book of the law. But you got to be strong and of good courage. And what is good courage? Good courage is not this fake courage that people have that make people think they stronger than what they are. Most people are very weak and not strong at all. Because if you're strong and of good courage, then you will be strong in the law. And you will have good courage in what you are doing because it's according to the law. Read that 9th verse again.
Have not I commanded thee, be strong and of good courage.
And this is the 3rd time it's saying it.
Be not afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Neither be thou dismayed.
Yeah, at what you might hear or see.
For Yahweh thy Elohim is with thee, whithersoever thou goest.
And there it go again. For Yahweh, your Elohim, is with you wherever you go. You might go somewhere where it might be scary. You might go somewhere where you don't even think the righteous should be. But you don't fret because of it. You don't become afraid because of it. You don't turn your good courage into a bunch of complaints and pointing the finger. No, you stay strong because Yahweh is with you. And I can understand when you start complaining and pointing the finger. That's a sure sign that you are saying, Yahweh is not with me. Watch what it says in the book of Psalms 1. We're talking about prosperity. What is prosperity? Is prosperity when you don't have no issues or problems? Is prosperity when you got a bunch of money and everything going good and right that you feel? Is that prosperity? Or is true prosperity when Yahweh is with you wheresoever you go? In the book of Psalms, the 1st chapter, the very 1st verse.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the wicked, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of Yahweh, and in his law doth he meditate day and night.
There go that meditation. And let me show you what this meditation will do. And this delight in the law of Yahweh will do.
And he shall be like the tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
Here go this prosperity again. Why? Because you have chosen Yah. And Yah has chosen you. And now he's with you. And now, whatsoever you do shall prosper. Even though it don't even look like prosperity to most people. But you will know Yahweh is with you. Continue reading.
The wicked are not so.
But the wicked are not so. They don't have this type of prosperity.
But are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore, the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Yahweh knoweth the way of the righteous, But the way of the wicked shall perish.
Yeah. See, the wicked, they're not so. The wicked shall not even stand in judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. They can't even stand. Sinners are like, the scripture said, the wicked fleeth with no man pursueth, but the righteous is as bold as a lion. Prosperity. True prosperity is when Yahweh is with you. Even when your situation seems bad, that don't mean Yahweh is not with you. Watch what it says in the book of 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter. And it says in the 20th verse,
And they rose early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, Hear me, O Yehudah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in Yahweh, your Elohim, so shall ye be established. Believe his prophets, so shall ye prosper.
You see how prosperous you become when you believe in the prophets of Yahweh, and you see how you will be established if you believe in Yahweh, your Elohim. So this prosperity that the churches are feeding you is not prosperity at all. The prosperity that you think the government have, you becoming a Democrat or Republican. And then when the Democrat win, you think, my goodness, we won. This is prosperity. Or if the Republican win and you're a Republican, this is prosperity. Or we marched and we got this sentence off. This is prosperity. The only prosperity I've seen in the scriptures is whether Yahweh was with you or not. And whether you was with him or not. And so when things start going awry in your life, how you handle those things, how you deal with those things, shines a light, a beacon of light, a spotlight on whether Yahweh is with you. Because if Yahweh is with you, no matter the adversity, you will prosper. In the book of Isaiah 54, just show you how deep this prosperity can be. In the book of Isaiah 54, the 14th verse.
In righteousness shall thou be established. Thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee. Behold, They shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire.
And listen to what Yahweh said. I'm the one who created the smith that blows the coals in the fire.
And that bringeth forth an instrument for his work.
Whatever that instrument is, I'm the one that created the man to make the instrument for his work.
And I have created the waster to destroy.
And I'm the one created the one that will do the destruction.
No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper.
Because when Yahweh is with you, who can be against you? For even the weapon that is formed against you shall not prosper.
And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn.
And it's going to be condemned. I don't care if somebody talking about you a dog, they saying you this, they saying that, and you ain't this and you ain't that. Woman said yourself tried to mock her, sleep with her. So people can say all kind of things about you. But in judgment, they will be condemned.
This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh.
But this is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh.
And their righteousness is of me, saith Yahweh.
Because their righteousness is of the Most High. Because when you with him, he's going to be with you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. And because of all these adversity that comes to your door, that sit in your lap, that come from the left and from the right, from the east, the west, the north, the south, they coming from everywhere. It don't mean Yahweh is not with you just because of the adversity. What determines whether Yahweh is with you is whether you are prosperous or not. But if you don't know prosperity according to the scriptures, the prosperity that Yahweh speak of, whether Yahweh is with you or not, then how can you judge the adversity that befalls you? You think it's adversity. But little do you know, it can be prosperity. But so you can understand the difference between whether Yahweh is with you or not, let me show you a few things. In the book of Deuteronomy 28, turn there. Because I don't want you to get no false sense that Yahweh is with everybody and Yahweh is with you when he might not be. And just like you can know whether Yahweh is with you or not, surely you can know when Yahweh has forsaken you. In the book of Deuteronomy 28, start reading the 27th verse.
Yahweh will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. Yahweh shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
Then you know he's not with you, because you won't prosper in none of your ways. In other words, you just played from start to finish, from morning to evening, and from evening until morning. And the scriptures plainly let you know this. Watch this in Deuteronomy 28, the 65th verse. Start at 64 though.
And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other Elohim, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But Yah shall give thee there a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would Elohim it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would Elohim it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
Yeah, that's when Yahweh he's not with you then. No prosperity at all. And your life is going to hang in doubt. And you're not going to call upon Yah, because you're going to wish it was evening. And then that evening, you're going to wish it was morning. And all you can think of, all you can imagine, is this great despair that you're in. And your heart and your mind will be smitten with blindness and madness. In other words, you won't see no good at all. You won't even think about good. And only thing you can do is see bad. And you will see that Yahweh is not with you. In the book of Numbers, the 14th chapter. The 35th verse.
I, Yahweh, have said, I will surely do it unto all this evil congregation that are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. And the men which Moses sent to search the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him, by bringing up a slander upon the land.
And this just a slander upon the land. We slander one another. Continue reading.
Even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plague before Yahweh. But Joshua son of Nun and Caleb son of Jephunneh, which were of the men that went to search the land, lived still.
So a couple of them lived, and 10 of them died. But watch what happens.
And Moses told these sayings unto all the children of Israel. And the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning and got them up into the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and will go up unto the place which Yahweh hath promised, for we have sinned.
In other words, they saying, look, even after Yahweh told them, no, you're going to stay in the wilderness 40 years. And he played and killed those who brought up the evil report. Many of the men that remained, even after Yahweh judged them and said, you're going to stay in the wilderness for 40 years, they got up real early and said, look, we will go up and take this land that Yahweh has promised, for we have sinned. And watch what Moses tells them.
And Moses said, Wherefore now do ye transgress the commandment of Yahweh? But it shall not prosper.
Yeah, this thing is not going to prosper. You already sinned. Now, if you do what you think you want to do, you're transgressing the commandment of Yahweh, because Yahweh has already told you that you going to be in the wilderness for 40 years. So if you do this thing, you shall not prosper. 42nd verse.
Go not up, for Yahweh is not among you.
He's not with you. He's not among you. He don't have your back.
That ye be not smitten before your enemies. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and ye shall fall by the sword, because ye turned away from Yahweh. Therefore Yahweh will not be with you.
Yahweh is not going to be with you. You already turned away from Yahweh. You already murmured. You already showed your disbelief. And Yahweh said, if you believe in Yahweh, shall you not be established? Believe in his prophets. And what was Moses? A prophet. Shall you not prosper? And even to this very point, they still did not believe in Yahweh's prophet. And watch what happens.
But they presumed to go up unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and Moses departed not out of the camp.
And he was their prophet.
Then the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites which dwelt in that hill, and smote them, and discomforted them, even unto Hormah.
In other words, they was destroyed. They did not prosper. And why? Because Yahweh wasn't with them. And why? Because they were not with Yahweh. So when all these things is happening in your life, and you start pointing a finger, you start blaming one another, you start saying this and saying that to discover who's at fault. This is just a sure sign that you don't even believe Yahweh's with you anyway. Because if Yahweh is with you, who can be against you? If Yahweh is with you, will not your way be prosperous anyway? Why would I have to argue my point, argue my cause, when Yahweh is with me? And maybe we don't believe that Yahweh is with us. And if you don't believe it, then how can you be established? And if you don't believe in his prophets, then how can you prosper? When prosperity is when Yahweh is with you, no matter what situation, no matter what place, no matter where you find yourself, Yahweh is with you. You shall prosper. In the book of Psalm 37. This is what it says, starting at the very first verse.
Fret not thyself because of evildoers.
In other words, what you're getting